Have you ever wondered why some people seem to fade after turning 80, even if they were doing just fine a few years earlier? It's easy to blame old age or genetics, but the real reasons are often quieter, hidden in the everyday routines that slowly disappear. And if we're not careful, those small shifts can quietly steal years from our lives. In today's video, we're uncovering 5 unexpected but powerful reasons many older adults struggle to stay healthy after 80. If you're over 60 or care about someone who is, this could completely shift the way you think about aging. Let's dive in. Hi there, and welcome to Forever Strong Seniors. I'm so glad you're here. This video might feel personal, and that's because it is. What we're about to explore goes beyond the usual health tips. It's about the subtle, silent changes that often go unnoticed until one day life feels a little dimmer. But don't worry, these changes aren't permanent. They can be reversed, starting with awareness. Let's begin with the first reason. As we get older, the spotlight often shines on our closest relationships, our children, grandchildren, or old friends. But what many people don't realize is that it's not just the deep connections that matter. It's the small ones too. Microsocial engagement is a term researchers use to describe those tiny, almost forgettable moments of connection. Saying hello to your neighbor, waving at the mail carrier, sharing a joke with the checkout clerk. These aren't major life events, but they quietly reinforce our sense of place in the world. Now here's the thing. After 80, many of these little interactions start to disappear. Maybe your knees make it harder to walk to the store, or your hearing isn't what it used to be, so chatting with strangers feels more like a struggle. Maybe your children offer to do your errands for you. Kind and helpful, yes, but that also means fewer chances to see familiar faces. And here's the danger. When those small points of contact fade away, so does something else, vitality. Let me tell you about someone I once met, Frank, 84. Every morning, Frank used to walk to the corner cafe. Same route, same table, same friendly barista who greeted him with a smile. He'd chat with the regulars, exchange a few laughs, and head home, feeling a little more alive. But one winter, he slipped on an icy patch, not injured but shaken. He stopped going out. Weeks passed, then months, and with that small change, Frank started feeling more tired, more withdrawn. Not because he was sick, but because the quiet spark of daily connection had dimmed. The science backs it up. Studies show that even minor forms of social interaction help regulate our nervous system, elevate mood, and keep cognitive functions sharp. The brain sees social isolation as a threat. It increases inflammation, lowers immunity, and even begins to shrink the areas responsible for memory and emotional control. Think of it this way. Those simple hellos are more than polite gestures. They're signals to your brain that say, "You're still here. You still matter." So what can you do? Start small. Walk the same route a few times a week. Smile at the dog walker down the street. Greet the pharmacist by name. These tiny exchanges act like mental vitamins. You may not remember them later, but your brain does. The lesson here? Don't underestimate the power of being seen. Connection, even casual connection, is a form of nourishment, and it might just be the difference between aging and thriving. In the next part, we'll look at something that seems wise on the surface, being careful. But when caution turns into avoidance, the body begins to forget how to live fully. Stay with me, because the second reason may surprise you just as much. There's a phrase I hear often from older adults, better safe than sorry. And while there's wisdom in that, what happens when being careful quietly becomes the reason we lose our strength? One of the most overlooked reasons many people decline after 80 isn't a disease or diagnosis. It's inactivity, not from laziness, but from fear. We start avoiding movement to stay safe, but in the process, we stop living fully. It usually starts small. You miss a step on the porch and decide to stop using the stairs. Your back feels stiff, so you avoid bending down to grab that book on the lower shelf. Maybe you tripped once while walking after it rained, so now you avoid your daily walk altogether. At first, it feels like common sense, but slowly, those little decisions add up. And before you know it, you're sitting more, doing less, and watching the world move without you. Let me tell you about Gloria. She was 81 when she slipped, Not badly, just enough to scare her. No injuries, no broken bones. But the fear lingered. She stopped going to the park where she used to walk each morning. She started asking her daughter to bring groceries instead. Within a few months, her legs felt weaker, and her confidence dropped even more. Her doctor noticed she'd lost weight, but it wasn't fat. It was muscle. And with that muscle went her balance, her strength, and slowly, her independence. Gloria didn't slow down because she was weak. She became weak because she slowed down. You see, our bodies aren't like cars that last longer when left in the garage. They're more like gardens. They need constant tending. Without use, our muscles shrink. Our coordination fades. Even the deep core muscles that help us stand and move without falling begin to wither if we don't engage them regularly. And here's what's most important. This decline often doesn't feel dramatic. It creeps in quietly. One skipped walk turns into two. One day of rest turns into a routine of stillness. And slowly, the body forgets how to be active. But I want to be clear. This doesn't mean you should throw caution to the wind. Being smart about your body is important. Use a cane if it helps. Wear shoes with good grip. Clear walkways in your home. These aren't signs of weakness. They're tools of strength. But the key is to keep moving, even if it's slower, even if it's with help. Movement is a signal. It tells your heart to keep pumping, your joints to keep moving, your brain to stay alert. It's a daily reminder to your body that it's still needed. And if you're thinking, I'm too old to start now, let me tell you, that's simply not true. Even a few minutes of stretching, standing during TV commercials, or walking to the mailbox can begin to rebuild that sense of movement and momentum. The goal isn't to run a marathon. It's to stay engaged with your body in whatever way you can. So ask yourself honestly, am I avoiding movement because I physically can't? Or because I'm afraid of what might happen? If it's the latter, that fear may be quietly costing you years of strength, confidence, and joy. In the next part, we'll explore something even more subtle. How light, or the lack of it, can throw off your body's internal rhythm and rob you of restful sleep, energy, and clarity. What you'll learn might surprise you, and it's something you can fix starting tomorrow morning. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly rested? Mind, body, and spirit? As we age, sleep doesn't just become more fragile, it becomes more essential. But for many people over 80, something subtle begins to interfere. It's not pain. It's not noise. It's light. Or more accurately, the lack of the right kind of light at the right times. Your body runs on a hidden rhythm, a clock you don't see, but one that touches nearly everything: your mood, memory, hormones, and healing. This internal clock, called the circadian rhythm, is deeply connected to light exposure. And when that light rhythm is off, your sleep suffers, and so does your health. Here's the problem. After 80, many people spend more time indoors. They rise later, miss the morning sunlight, and stay up watching TV or scrolling through their phone. Slowly, their body gets confused. Is it day? Is it night? Should I be alert or winding down? The body needs morning light to kickstart its engines. It tells your brain, time to be awake. And in the evening, when darkness falls, melatonin kicks in, helping you rest and repair. But when this cycle gets scrambled, when days are dim and nights are too bright, everything feels a little off. You may feel tired but can't fall asleep. Or you sleep but wake up groggy. Your energy dips. Your memory feels foggy. Your immune system slows. Let me tell you about Helen, 84. Her health was steady, but something had shifted. She was tired all the time, sleeping during the day, and losing her appetite. Her doctor couldn't find anything wrong until he asked about her routine. No sunlight, blinds always drawn, and the TV stayed on until midnight. The fix: 20 minutes of sunlight each morning by the window, and no screens an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, her sleep deepened, her mood lifted, and her energy returned. The lesson here is simple. Light is medicine, free, powerful, and often overlooked. So tomorrow morning, open the blinds. Step onto your porch. Let your skin and your eyes remember the rhythm of the day. And in the evening, turn the lights down. Let your body know it's time to rest. But light isn't the only thing we need to feel fully alive. By the time most people reach their 80s, they've experienced more loss than many can imagine. A lifelong partner, a sibling, a friend, sometimes even a child. And while society often gives a moment of sympathy, it rarely gives enough space for grief. Here's what happens instead. People tell you to stay strong. You tell yourself to carry on. And over time, grief turns into silence. Not because the pain is gone, but because no one asks about it anymore. But the body doesn't forget. Suppressed emotion becomes tension in the shoulders, tightness in the chest, shallower breaths, restless sleep. It affects digestion, immunity, even heart health. And perhaps the most painful part? It can make you feel like a stranger to yourself. I once met Robert, 87. He had lost his wife of 58 years. He rarely cried, said he didn't want to burden anyone. But over time, he lost interest in his garden, stopped going to church, and felt constantly exhausted. His tests showed no illness. But emotionally, he was carrying weight no one could see. What helped wasn't medicine, it was expression. Talking about her, writing letters to her, saying out loud, "I miss her." And through that honesty, a new breath returned. Not to erase the pain, but to lighten the burden. You see, the heart needs to feel. It needs release. Whether that's through prayer, writing, a trusted friend, or even quiet tears. What stays hidden slowly hardens. What shared softens. So, if you've been carrying something silently, ask yourself this. Who could I share this with? Or where can I safely let this out? Because the truth is, we don't just live longer when our bodies are strong. We live longer when our hearts are still open. And in the final part, we'll explore the fifth and perhaps most subtle factor, the quiet erosion of daily purpose. It's something many overlook until the days begin to feel empty. But with the smallest shift, you can bring back structure, energy, and meaning. I'll see you there. There's a quiet truth about aging that no one really talks about. Most people don't give up because of a single event. It's not one fall, one illness, or one birthday that turns the tide. It's the slow fading of rhythm and purpose. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most invisible reason many older adults struggle to thrive after 80. The gradual loss of daily purpose. Now, I'm not talking about grand life missions or big achievements. I'm talking about the small things, simple, grounding routines that give shape to your day. Watering the plants before the sun gets too hot. Folding laundry just right. Making tea at the same time each afternoon. Writing a postcard. Watching the neighborhood kids walk home from school. These things may not seem important, but they are. Because they tell your mind, I'm still here. I still matter. I still have something to do today. The body listens to those messages. When daily routines disappear, something deeper starts to fade. Appetite declines. Movement slows. Motivation quietly slips away. Not because something is broken, but because the inner signal that says, get up, it's time, has grown quiet. Let me tell you about Ruth, 88. She wasn't rich. She didn't have a big family. But she had one thing that never left her. Structure. Every Monday, she wrote encouraging notes to homebound members of her church. On Thursdays, she made a batch of soup for a nearby shelter and froze it in small portions. Every day at 4 p.m., she sat by her front window to wave at the neighborhood kids as they passed by. Some waved back. Others didn't. But it didn't matter. She still did it. That gentle rhythm gave her days a heartbeat. It was her anchor. And when you're anchored, you don't drift. Here's the science behind it. Purpose, even the smallest kind, activates systems in the brain that regulate mood, drive, and even physical repair. When you feel needed, your body responds. It repairs faster, thinks more clearly, digests better, lives longer. So, if your days have started blending together, if you wake up and wonder, what now? Don't ignore that feeling. That's not laziness or forgetfulness. That's a signal. Your body is asking for rhythm again, for a reason to move, a reason to care. And the good news? It doesn't take much to answer that signal. Start with one small thing. Feed the cat. Sweep the porch. Call a friend. Read aloud. Take care of a plant. Build something with your hands. Create a reason to get up. and something small to look forward to when the sun goes down. Purpose doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be yours. Now that we've walked through all 5 reasons, what stands out to you? Was it the fading micro-interactions? The inactivity disguised as caution? The broken light rhythms and sleep disruption? The unspoken grief sitting quietly in your chest? Or the slow loss of routine that made your days feel flat? Whatever it was, remember this. Aging doesn't have to mean disappearing. You have more power than you think. Not to stop time, but to change how you live through it. Small actions still matter. They build momentum. They restore rhythm. And when the body feels that structure again, when the mind feels needed, when the heart is allowed to feel, something amazing happens. Life, even after 80, begins to feel full again. So let me ask you, which of these 5 silent dangers felt the most familiar to you? And what's one small thing you can start doing today to reclaim your rhythm? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and explore more content on our channel, Forever Strong Seniors. This space is for you, and for everyone who believes that life after 80 can still be filled with light, purpose, and connection. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care of yourself. You're not done yet.